The other night we were sitting around the table eating dinner, and some of the kids started talking about a different recipe that I had used, apparently, a long time ago for the same meal that we were eating. And I did not remember ever making it in a different way. I was like, that's not true. We've never had that. But here's the thing. There was like 4 children that clearly remembered a different version of the food we were eating. And they all said, no, Mom, you're wrong. Like, we did eat this. And in that moment, I had a choice. I could either continue with the version of truth that I knew 100% to be true in my mind, or I could acknowledge that if 4 of my kids remembered something in the same way and it was different than the way I remembered it, that perhaps they remembered something that I didn't. In other words, maybe they were right and I was wrong. This isn't the only time in my life that I have been 100% sure of something only to realize later that I was actually mistaken. Having this understanding is incredibly important for your character because it keeps you open to knowing that you don't actually know everything and that there's room for you to grow, and it keeps you open to being able to hear from other people. So it's really important in your home life, in your relationships. It's also really important because if you keep the knowledge that you may not always know best, coupled with the advice that I'm about to give you, it's going to go a long way in creating healthy, happy, joyful homes and hearts, relationships of all kinds. So the advice that I have for you is remember to use the words, I was wrong, you are right, and even I don't know frequently. So it's one thing to realize yourself that you might be wrong about something. It's an entirely different thing to admit that to another person. I did a video previously talking about the words I'm sorry and walking through how you apologize and ask forgiveness from people. You know, sometimes when you're wrong, that's going to be the next step. It's not always, though. Sometimes you didn't do anything wrong, you just realized that you made a judgment that was incorrect, or you shared information that later turned out not to be true, or you believed something happened one way and then you realized later that your memory was mistaken. You know, there's all different circumstances where we're wrong. Sometimes we have to apologize to people, sometimes we don't. But it is really important to be able to admit that we were wrong, to be able to say those words easily with other people. You know, sometimes those words get stuck in our throat a little bit, but it's really key to healthy relationships. If you are in a safe and secure relationship, then you are connected to people that already have your back, that love you, that are a safe place for you to not be perfect. So being able to admit when you're wrong should be something that can just be a habit that's developed pretty easily, even if it is difficult at first. But I understand that not all relationships feel safe like that. In that case, though, you still sometimes have to admit when you're wrong. So what do you do when you're having to have that conversation with someone that doesn't feel safe, where it doesn't always feel like they're on your side? Well, in that case, then you rely on the Lord, because He is with you and He is safe and He has your back. And so even if you're feeling embarrassed in front of other people, being able to be a person of integrity and character and being able to be someone who walks securely in the Lord means that you're not worrying about saving your face in front of other people, but instead you're more concerned with being a person of character and being someone who behaves with kingdom character. And that requires being able to admit when you're wrong. So I want you to practice with me the words, I was wrong. I was wrong. I realized upon further reflection that you were right. You know, I remembered this happening this way, but now I'm realizing maybe I, just am not remembering it correctly. Maybe I was wrong. All those things are important things to say because it creates in other people the reputation that you are trustworthy. Because nobody is going to be right 100% of the time. But if you are not only incorrect but unwilling to admit when you're wrong, then that actually makes you an unsafe person. Because somebody can't trust that you are going to be straightforward and honest with them. Along those same lines are the words, you were right, or you are right. It's really nice to hear someone else say to you, you were right. I was thinking about what you said and you were right. I wasn't sure I agreed with you at first, but the more I've thought about it, the more I realized that you're correct. I thought that you were wrong about this, but then I looked it up and I realized you're right. I'm not sure what my initial thought was, but I trust you, so I'm just going to believe that you're right about this. Those things actually can be a healing balm to people, and again, they build trust and rapport between you and other people. Along those same lines is using the words, I don't know. It can be difficult sometimes to admit when we don't know, especially if we're talking to somebody who we feel like we're an authority over. If we're, parents, it can be difficult and painful to admit, I don't know. Hey mom, how do you do this math problem? I don't know. What's the answer to this? I don't know. Or even in the more difficult things where your child is facing heartbreak or they've had some sort of circumstance in their life and you're not sure how to approach it. Being able to be with them in it and admit, hey, I don't actually know the right answers. I don't know the next step, but I'm here with you. I'm staying in this with you. I had this situation with one of my daughters where we just kept, our communication styles were not working well together. Relationally, our hearts were connected and things were really good that way. We had a trusting relationship, 95% of the time. We enjoyed being around each other. But then there were the times when we were having to have a little more difficult communication. And for some reason, it just was not working. And I was trying to adjust and I was trying all my tricks to make it so that this could be an easier, smoother process for both of us. And they just weren't working. And so finally, I am going, Lord, what do I do? And I just was able to say to her, hey, obviously we're having an issue here. And I don't know what the answer is. I know that you're not the problem and I'm not the problem. There's just something about the way that we're trying to communicate together that isn't working well. And so we're gonna figure this out. I'm not giving up on it, but I don't actually know the solution. So let's just take a step back for a little bit and just know that I love you, that I like you, that this is gonna be fine, and we're gonna figure this out together and we'll move forward in a healthy way. It just might take a little bit of process. And what's amazing is that having that conversation actually ended up solving the problem, because it gave us both, I think, a little bit of just permission to try to figure something out. It gave us grace with each other in the process. It gave us the ability to go, okay, well, we both want good for each other. This isn't about you versus me. This is just about us not really knowing the answer and having to figure it out together, but we're on each other's side. So let's do that as a team. And it's amazing how just that conversation actually brought solution and healing and connection and all of those things. So I want to encourage you, if you are not often using the words, I was wrong, you were right, I don't know, in all of your relationships, the one with your spouse, the one with your kids, the ones with your friends, the ones with your coworkers, these are important words for you to master, and you'll find that as you use them, you'll grow more comfortable with them. The key is you have to use them genuinely, not with manipulation, but as you practice that and do that, you're going to find that these really are magic words that are going to lead to health and joy and heart connection in your home and in your relationships.